Hello, I'm Rob Constantine, and this is Paranormal Record. Hey, folks, welcome back to the show. What's going on, folks? What's going on? Paranormal Record, Paranormal Podcast, True Ghost Stories, with me, your host, Rob Constantine. This is our second season, and this episode today is pretty cool because just straight from a listener. And she's listened to the show from the second or third episode on and then went back and heard those first two episodes, but she's a fan, and I always tell people to write in and tell me their story, which is what this show is about. And it's about you, the listener, and about me operating and maintaining this platform and keeping an open mind about the paranormal and the unknown, the beyond, and what we, the little things that we understand, and then all of the theories that we have, and then combining those theories, and then continuing the discussion, continuing to talk about it. This is a great episode and a great guest today. I hope you enjoy it. This is my friend Farah, and a guest of the show, a fan of the show. Really interesting stuff. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. Here's Farah. Hey, Farah. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great to have you on the show. Now you're calling in from Maryland today, right?
Yep, I live in Maryland. How you doing?
Maryland, nice. Maryland to Georgia. Good. What's up? And you came from the Paranormal Nation. The rest of you guys out there listening, you can also write into the show at paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com and ask to be on the show. I'm now taking interviews for the second season, and that's what's happening. Farah, I didn't know you before you called me, or you emailed me last week, and we set it up. Here you are on the show. That's how fast it works, folks. That's how simple it is to tell your story as a guest on the show. You can, and I'll send you a sticker, and you can be on the show. Very cool. So, so Farah, you've had paranormal experiences all of your life, or just a part of it, or what's your story? Tell us about your haunted home growing up. This is the house you lived in was very haunted.
Yeah, so now I can't say that I've had haunted like experiences my whole life, but I can say this house is haunted. So when I've gone back there periodically, there's been other incidents and stuff happening, and
Yeah,
it's still going on. My parents still live there, so
crazy. That's
pretty
fantastic.
awesome.
Wow. So, uh, take us back to the very beginning and tell us your story. The floor is yours.
All right. So way back when, I think it was like 1988, I think, we moved into this gorgeous house, really old. And it was literally right around the corner from where we were living before, right? And I was four, I think, turning five, moving into this house. And when we moved in there, there was another family living upstairs. So we were all kind of like squished on the first floor, and they finished out their lease and eventually moved out. And then my parents turned it back into like a one family home. So we moved in there, and I gotta say, like initially, it didn't really seem like anything. It was just like, hey, like another house, another home. I
Sure.
mean, when we were living, and then there was a double family, my brother and I were squished into like this one room together downstairs. So I always had somebody with me. Yeah, he had a trundle bed too. So I was stuck on the trundle part. It sucked.
And guy and girl together
So
too. Oh my gosh. How old were you guys?
I was 4, which would mean he was
Oh.
like, he would have just turned 8.
Oh my gosh, there's stupid girls in my room all the time. Oh,
Yeah, it was definitely that phase where we did not like each other.
yeah. Yeah, because you had to
Yeah,
live with an 8-year-old had to live with a 4-year-old. Oh my God.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
not great.
but it's nice to not ever well, it's nice to I mean, when you do live by yourself eventually and then don't have anyone around, I don't know. I came from a family of five and it's kind of a quiet house without all of them and it's weird. But yeah, I never had to share a room with anybody. So I mean, I've had roommates, but I never had to share a room with one of my siblings. I bet that was cramped.
I honestly don't even remember how long we stayed like that, until the family upstairs moved out, and then my parents kind of redid everything, and
Did
then
you
we
guys
got
get
our own
your
room and
you
stuff.
did get your own room eventually? Oh, good. Okay, well, it was only a
Yeah,
short time.
yeah,
It was only a short time.
yeah. No, once they turned it back into a single family, it was a huge house.
Sweet.
So yeah, it started out as a single family, and then there's a ton of these big houses, like old Victorian homes in our neighborhood. So a lot of people had converted them into multi-family homes and stuff. And so that's what happened to this house. So when my parents
Wow,
bought
cool.
it, they're interested in trying to like restore it and turn it back into what it originally was.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah. So initially when we moved in, I mean, I'm 4 turning 5, like had no previous experience to any of this. I'm in the house initially living on the first floor. Nothing really happened. I mean, once we opened it back up and it was the whole house, and I had my own room, my brother had his own room. Like that's when it started to get a little bit weird feeling. So it was just kind of really eerie at first. There are certain areas of the house I just did not like being, especially by myself. So like there's this big bathroom upstairs
Yeah.
in the back of the house, and
Yeah.
I hated being there alone. I didn't even like going down to the back of the house upstairs, like down the hall. It was just creepy feeling. It was really eerie. And my brother lived down there. Like his room was the back room. I mean, like in the daylight, it was awesome. I loved that room because it had this cool little turret thing, and
Yeah.
had a bunch of windows. So it was awesome looking, but I would have hated to be there at night, like alone.
Oh my gosh.
So my room was in the very front of the house, and it was right up the stairs. If you were to kind of like look across the stairs and then look to the right, would be like the door to my room. And then further to the right is this door, this really tiny room that we call the nun's room, because it's like all you can really fit is like a tiny little dresser and a single like bed, a twin bed.
Yeah, okay. The nun's room.
The nun's room.
Yeah, that's great.
But then at the top of the stairs, immediately to the left, is my parents' room. So like there was maybe a span of 6 feet between our doors. So they were pretty close. It wasn't long before just I was getting creeped out in my room. Like at night, I did not sleep with the light off. I had the door wide open constantly because I could see my parents' room at that point. So that was kind of comforting.
Yeah.
Even the hall would be totally dark, but it was nice. I could see their room, I could see the door. If I needed to yell, I know they'd be right there.
Yeah.
But like there was nothing ever. It was just I was creeped out. It was super eerie. And they would always try to get me to turn the light. I never turned the light off. No. Like I always had the hall light on, fell asleep, but then they would turn that off, but my room light was still on. Yeah. If my
Yeah,
room
you're
was
like,
dark,
nope, not
go
gonna
back.
not gonna turn the light off. Thank you very much. No,
No,
thank
no,
you.
no, no. Plus, what made it
Yeah.
weirder was that the way my bed was initially positioned was just sticking out into the middle of the room. So it's like I couldn't have my back to anything. And so it just made me feel even more like
What?
vulnerable, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
It was just like already in an eerie situation. I can't like not feel eerie, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, and I don't know exactly how long, I say it was a few years before I actually saw something highly questionable.
What?
I
Yeah.
was, I want to say I was,
Okay.
and I actually saw a woman standing in my doorway one night.
Whoa. Whoa.
And I
Whoa.
remember, and this was the very first thing that ever happened to me.
What time of day was it?
It was 2:11 at night. It
Oh.
was pitch black. I still remember because I woke up and I looked at my clock.
Okay, so you were sleeping, you woke up, and then
I was sleeping.
she's just
Something
standing
woke me
there.
up. Yeah,
Oh my God.
I could see my clock on my nightstand and one of those little radio clock things, digital, 2:11. I turned over the other way and there was this woman in my doorway. Now, my light was on. Again, like I said, I didn't sleep with the light off. The hall was pitch black. I could see through her. I could see her entire form. I still remember the details of like her hair, her shirt, her skirt. She was standing
God.
there with her arms just clasped in front of her, and she was just in my doorway, just facing me.
What the hell?
And I remember it so clearly. Remember it so clearly. Like her hair was kind of up in this big loose bun piled up on top of her head. She's got this blouse on that buttons all the way up, high neck thing. She's got the poofy shoulders, but like the really tight cuffs around the wrists.
It was the nun from the
Like
nun
she's got like
room.
the
She's
full
there.
the nun from the
Oh my
sunroom.
God. Oh my God.
I could see like the lines along the bottom of the
Yeah.
skirt, like the
Yeah.
decoration, like they put lines along the bottom. I can see that. I can see the ruffles on the cuffs of like in the collar and the buttons. I was
Oh
thinking
my
about
God, Farah.
this a little while ago. I realized like I don't remember her face. I don't know that I
Well,
ever registered other than like
yeah,
the shape and all the other details.
that's insane. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, then what? What happened? She's standing there. You're looking at her. It's 2 o'clock in
Oh, yeah,
the
then
after. It's
all
two
I
o'clock
got
in the
pulled the covers
morning.
over my head, and I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh my God. And I just like, nope, 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 nope. Because obviously I couldn't run to my parents' room.
because she's in the
And
doorway.
I
She's in
just,
the doorway.
yeah, yeah.
You were
And so I
four.
just waited and I eventually fell back asleep. And that morning I got up and I told my parents, and they're just, no, no, you were dreaming. You were
You
dreaming.
were
Like,
four or
that
five.
whole, I was like 8.
Oh, you were eight. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, nothing happened.
But I'm
Nothing happened until this for 4 years while you were there when you were little, but just the
correct.
feeling and the heaviness and the spookiness. But then this is the first real like whoa,
That's the first,
like
like, oh
oh
shit.
my
Yeah.
God, Farah, oh my God.
There
Oh
wasn't
my
an ease
gosh.
into it, nothing. It was just full blown bam.
She didn't do anything. You were under your cover. She
No, she
just
just
was
stood there.
there.
She stood there. She didn't move. Nothing.
Shit. Shit. Yikes.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. Okay.
So so here I am. Like the next day, I'm telling my parents, they're not believing. They're just like, "Oh, you're dreaming.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. Like, don't worry, it didn't happen. It's fine." Like, and I'm talking about it for weeks, for months. Like, I just keep bringing it up. Eventually, it's just like they just keep telling me the same thing. So I just shut up. I stopped talking about it. I don't know how I ever fell asleep in that room again. I mean, I was still afraid. I think at that point I started to slightly close my door, but leave it slightly ajar, just like somewhere halfway. So I didn't see the full hallway,
Yeah.
but it was still kind of open. So I could hear what was happening and I could yell to my parents if I needed to. I don't know. Like it's still just, um, never saw her again. Never saw
Oh
her
my
again.
oh my
I
God.
still remember all the details. So later on,
Holy
moving
shit.
on, like bring this up. Do you need a moment?
I'm okay. That's just so scary. That's so freaky. Yeah,
I'm
I have goosebumps on my toes. Golly.
so later on, it kind of died down because again, like it calmed down. My parents were just like, yeah, you were dreaming, whatever. You know, didn't see her again. Time went by. We just kind of, you get back into the normal rhythm of daily life, right? So here I went with an aunt to like a flea market one day with my cousin, and I noticed a toy there that was the same type of toy that my two best friends that lived, like they were neighbors. They each had one. And I kind of like, oh, I really wanted it. It was really cool. It was called a Bopatoon thing. And it would be like an animal and you would squeeze a hand and it would, like, mine was a duck. So it would just quack three
Ah,
different songs. But if you
yeah,
bopped it on the head, it would quack note by note, right? And mine
I
was
remember those
Christmas
toys.
themed because,
I remember
man,
those.
and yeah.
Yeah,
So I was thrilled. I saw this at the flea market and I just had to get it because my two best friends had one and now I could fit in. We all had one now. And awesome. I was thrilled, got it, brought it home. And, for a while it was really cool. Show my friends. It was awesome. And then I'd have it sitting on my shelf in my room. And, that's where it went with the rest of my stuffed animals and stuff.
yeah.
I don't know how long I'd had it, but it just started quacking.
Oh,
It would
no,
randomly
no.
quack little notes
Oh
by
no.
itself.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh gosh.
I remember, I
Nope.
remember telling
Nope.
my parents about
Nope.
this.
Oh my God.
So I'd tell my parents, it's freaky, right? I'm just a
Yeah.
kid. What the hell is this duck doing quacking by itself? Nobody touched it. It's just sitting
Yeah.
on the shelf with all my other toys and it just quacks. You're like, what the hell was that? So again, my parents are just like, well, I don't know. Maybe it's just, something brushed it or whatever.
Not
Temperature
over and over
change,
again.
pressures, whatever.
Nothing brushed it. It was on a shelf, Mom.
Right? So
Yeah.
finally, she just got tired of me complaining about this duck quacking by itself. And she's like, Farah, put it outside your room. Just set it outside the door. So I did. I just took it off the shelf and I set
Yeah.
it right outside the door. And it right between my door and the door of the nun's room. Because they're like less than a foot apart. So it just sat there in this tiny little corner, leaning up against the wall, right?
It's gonna
It
quack
didn't
out
stop
there now.
quacking.
No, it didn't stop quacking.
It kept quacking in the hallway.
So all you had to do to make it quack was just
That
hit
duck
the head
has
or
remained
bop
in
it.
the spot.
What? It's still there?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
toy's still
No,
there?
it's still there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Look,
I
look, we'll
love
get
that it's
more.
still
There's more
there.
about the toy.
Did they keep the batteries in it?
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh
we've had to
God.
replace the batteries over the years.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
but it's
That duck
it's
will just quack by itself.
oh my God. I love that your parents have it still there. I love
It
that.
keeps
That's
going.
fantastic.
Well, okay, so this duck just kind of became like
The
a
ghost
part
bell. Yeah, the
of
ghost.
the house. Like it's normal. And it becomes funny because, look, as time goes by and this duck is just out there quacking by itself, you start to have fun with it. You start to joke around about it, like because you're doing something, you're talking to somebody, and then you're by the duck or something like that, and it quacks, and you're just like, it startles you or whatever. So that you're messing around with it. You're
Oh
just
my
like,
God.
what, talking to the duck.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're
like you
talking to
say
the duck.
something,
Oh my
you insult
God.
somebody, or whatever, and then the duck quacks almost like in response. And you're just like, what the hell was that? Yeah.
It's the duck. It
I
heard
mean, it
you.
just kind of became part of the background, part of it would almost like it was interacting with us at times, so we just kind of left it there and went with it. We'd be
Holy
downstairs, like
cow.
everybody downstairs. I remember like at times we'd have people over, we'd be talking about it. The duck would go off, and they're like, "What was that?" Oh, don't worry about it. It's just the duck. Like what? And we have to explain the duck. Like the duck was always there. It would quack. If the battery started dying, though, it would be that real deep, low quack, and it would
Oh,
sound kind of demonic a
oh,
little bit.
oh my
And that's how
God.
you know to change the batteries. Because that got a little creepy. If it was quacking like that by itself, you don't want to hear that in the middle of the night.
No, no, no. My friend's
No.
little girl, Susie and I were dating, and she had a little girl. And when I was with Susie, and we Susie and I were together, and she had a little girl named Julie, and we got Julie
Mm-hmm.
this Ernie doll from from the thrift store, and we put batteries in it, and it was like a get better Ernie, like you could play doctor with it, and it would tell you if that it had a sore throat, or and you had a thermometer, and you could play
Oh
doctor with
no.
Ernie, it was this whole thing. And if he was feeling okay, he would just tell you, I feel great, right? In that Erniness. And then he would say other things like, oh, my throat hurts, or whatever, like it was a thing. Uh and
Uh-huh.
Julie said that it would just talk randomly, and man,
Oh,
she also said it outside the door, which is what Susie told her to do. She's like, if you don't like it, just put it outside the door. And then little Julie was like, "Mm." And then we saw it in the hallway because she listened to her mom and did just that. And then, man, if you were in the living room and just by yourself in that house, and then from the hallway, Ernie'd be just like, I feel great. I'll be like, all right, well, I'm glad you feel good, Ernie. I'm gonna see you later, man. And I would just dip out. I'm like, no, I'm out. I'm not, I'm good. We took that thing back to the thrift store so fast. We were just like,
oh,
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 let's go in the thrift store box in the garage. We're gonna, that's it.
oh my
We
God.
believed her though.
Oh my God.
When she said she was creeped out about it, we said, all right, we'll just put it in the hall. You don't have to keep it. Like that's what we told her. I feel great. All right, well, that's good. I'm a dip. I'm out. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we took it back. We didn't fool with that at all. We were like, no. But I love that
There's something
her
so
and
much
Julie both,
about
you put it
actual
in the hallway.
sensing.
Put it in the hallway. Yeah, we have kind of the same story about, well, if it's freaking you out, just it's fine. You don't have to keep it in your room, just put it in the hallway. I feel
It's
great.
fine. Fine. Just put it in the hallway. Put it in the
Yeah, put it in
hallway.
the hallway. Ernie
Oh,
and that duck are just gonna hang out. I feel great. Quack, 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 quack. Oh my gosh. Um, I know Susie's daughter
you can
listens
actually
to
hear
the
one side of the
show, so
conversation.
I know Susie's daughter listens to the show. So hi, Abby. We're talking about your Aunt Julie, um, or your sister Julie. Hi, Abby. Anyway, so yeah, I feel great. Nope, nope, gotta
Yeah, no, that would be
go.
so much creepier. Like actual words called. I don't know. Maybe it was just the quacking. And it's Christmas carols. It sounds so less threatening, totally creepy and weird, but
That's
so
right,
less
because it's a Christmas
ominous.
bonk on the head dunk that makes noises that quacks when you touch it. I feel great. Nope. Yikes. All right.
I think it's worth pointing out though, the bill on this duck was somehow like smashed up into like a permanent sneer.
No.
So looking at it, it doesn't look like the happiest duck, but he certainly likes interacting with you.
Yeah. Whether you like it or not. No. No. I feel great. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Oh man. So fast forward a little bit to like middle school, right? Um, so in middle school, I was the one getting home from school like first. Then my brother would get home, then my parents would get home from work, right? So I was
Okay.
home alone in the house in the afternoon for I don't know, like an hour. I never remember how long, but I'd be home. I'd probably be in like on the computer all the time. I don't know. We had computers. That's what I did. I think I was playing Grand Theft Auto constantly. I don't know. But
Checks out.
yeah, right. And I'd get on the computer and I get, you know, zoned out in the computer. I wouldn't always notice people coming in, right? And then I hear them moving around the house. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, they're here.
Yeah.
Cool. Like my brother got home, awesome. Or oh. So what started happening was I'd hear I'd hear people come home, or I'd hear walking upstairs down the back stairway, and then like going out the back door or just up and down the stairway, or I'd hear somebody come down the stairway and go into the kitchen and start fussing with kitchen stuff or like chopping food. And so I'd either think it was my brother, like if it's just coming down the back stairs, because he lives like his room's right there at the top of the back stairs. So it
Right.
must be him. He's there. He probably came, went upstairs, did something, whatever, and then he's, you know, leaving, going out the back door and just going off to see a friend or something. So I get up, I look to where we put our bags. There's nothing there. I'm like, oh, that's super weird. I'm looking around. There's no sign of him. He's not home yet.
Right.
It's like it's super weird. Maybe I'm just, you know, hearing things. Maybe it's just, you know,
Now, if his book
me.
bag's not
I don't
there, he's
know.
not home from school. That's where he puts his book bag when he gets home.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not there, he's not there.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what
Certainly
that
doesn't take it
means.
up to his room to do his homework. He does that.
Not if he always leaves it at the door.
So
No. Right. Yeah.
no.
Maybe he just took a book and went to his room with
So
it.
then
The whole thing. Because I leave my
oh
laptop
yeah, you
bag in
know,
the
he was
garage with
thinking
all the rest
things.
of my junk. Yeah. Yeah. I just take the laptop out. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, this happens enough times. Like I hear somebody in the kitchen. I'm just like, oh, mom must be home. So I get up, I look at the door. There's no purse hanging on the door, no keys. Like, oh, she must have like dropped it on the dining room table as she was walking in because she does that sometimes. So I walk in, nothing on the dining room table. I'm not even paying attention to the sounds at this point. I'm just so keen to search for like proof that she's home. I get
Right.
into the kitchen, I realize like there's no sound anymore. And she's like, there's nothing in the kitchen, no sign of anybody. Everything's put away. It's not like stuff's out, but I heard somebody chopping something on a block in the kitchen. You know, like that distinct I'm chopping on a cutting board kind of sound.
Yeah. Yeah. But no
Like
one's
that's
there.
yeah, no one's there. No one's
Oh,
there. No one had been there. There was no evidence of anyone coming home and then leaving either.
yeah. Yeah.
So this happens enough time, and now I'm just like, I'm not going to sit in this house for so long alone and constantly hear this stuff, right? So I started going to my friend's house, like my two best friends growing up, they lived right next door, and then one like right across from that, like
That's
diagonal.
awesome.
So
Perfect.
yeah, so I just kind of hopped over to my friend's house. We hung out for a while until like I would look over and see somebody's home, great, and then I'd go back, have dinner, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd be hanging out at her house all the time. If we were outside, you know, there were times where I'd look over at the house because I'm checking for cars or whatever, and I'd see something up in the attic window. And, you know, I'd say something thinking I'm just, am I seeing things? Is it just like a weird reflection? What's going on? You know, and it wouldn't always be there. And like she wouldn't see it,
Your
but you
friend
know,
wouldn't see it.
it was there. No, no. And then by the time like I get her attention, it was gone anyway.
Ugh.
So yeah, yeah. And I tell my parents this stuff. I'd go home and I'd be like, look, I keep hearing noises in there. And you're like, oh no, it's just your imagination. You're hearing things. And I'm like, fine, I'm gonna be at my friend's house after school now.
Nobody,
I'm
nobody
not
hears
hanging out
things.
nowhere to find me.
Nobody
Nowhere to
hears
find me.
things. No
Not
one
when we
does
get
that.
home.
It's not an
Yeah,
explanation. No one just hears things. No, I don't just hear things. Yeah, no, mom, dad, why don't you believe me? Oh my God. You're just hearing
yeah,
things.
yeah. So for 2 years, because it was middle school, like I was 2 years doing this, right?
Oh
And
my
I'm over at
God.
my friend's
They
house
must have been hearing
every day
stuff
after school
too.
because I just was not. So
Uh,
there was finally, I guess she must have been talking to her dad about it because she tells me after so many times of me looking up and saying I saw something in the attic window, and she tells me, she's like, oh, my dad told me not to tell you this, but there was a guy who used to live there and he killed himself in the attic. And I'm like,
Dude,
no, you're messing with me. You are messing with me right now.
who lives in the
And
attic? Is that where the
she's like,
nun room
no,
is?
no,
Are you in the attic?
no, no.
Okay, okay.
Well, there's like maids' rooms up in the attic, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh gosh, is
that's
that where the nun
where
is that
he
where the
did
nun
it.
room is? No, that's across from your room.
No,
That's down
no, it's on the
below,
second floor. Yeah,
second floor.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, does your
So
brother
yeah,
live in the attic? No.
she was no,
Okay,
no,
so
no. The attic
nobody
wasn't
lives
well
up there.
heated, so we didn't
Yeah,
have anybody up there.
except for that dude.
Nobody lives up there.
Yikes.
Yeah,
When you saw things
nobody
in the
lives
attic?
up there.
Yeah. When you saw, oh, wow. When you saw, when you saw him, was it a person or was it just like something moving in the storage room, which, nothing's supposed to be moving in there. Certainly not person size big. What did you see? Just dude was in the window like, hello? Like what?
Like a bit of a face, like somebody trying to peer out the window.
No, you saw hands? You saw hands
No,
and
no, no, no,
hitting the
no, no
window?
hands, more like head face ish.
What was he trying to do? Get out the window? He was just
No, just look. He was
looking out
just
the
his
window.
head face, just looking out the window.
You
Yeah,
did see that though, a couple times.
yeah,
And then
uh-huh.
when you did tell your friend or you turned your head or took your eyes off of it, he would just not be there when you looked up. And she never saw him.
No, it'd be gone. Yeah, so fast. No, no, she didn't. She didn't see it.
Holy moly, dude. Have you ever seen a picture of the guy who
It'd be
used to
gone
live
so
there?
fast. No, I'm almost
Okay.
afraid to look.
I
Almost
I'm
afraid to look.
afraid. I'm afraid hearing the story right now. I'm afraid right now.
I
Ah,
mean,
oh my gosh.
so what she told me that her
Yeah.
dad had brought up, like what he said about this was that now he was a Marine in Vietnam, and I guess the guy that lived there also went to Vietnam. And
Yeah.
sometime after he got back, I guess he found out he was sick and decided to kill himself in the
Mm,
attic.
mm. That's horrible. That's so
Yeah.
sad. That's so terrible. Gosh, that's yeah, yikes. And then oh my gosh. Well, okay, so he's hitting the chopping block with a knife in the kitchen, or he's hitting it with something. It just
Or
sounds like
somebody is.
somebody's cutting
Oh,
something. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, yikes. Okay,
Walking
that's crazy.
downstairs in dinner. I don't know. Yeah.
You heard people coming up and down the stairs when you were by yourself?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Golly, Farah.
I mean that
Yikes.
that's not an uncommon occurrence in that house is to hear like footsteps and
And then,
doors.
and that's a definite sound. Somebody going up
That's
or
part of
down
it.
a staircase is definitely a sound. That is not just a
Yeah.
house settling or something like your parents were claiming where you're just hearing things. That is a definite sound. It is a definite series of sounds, and it's unmistakable, especially when you know what it sounds like when you hear people going up and down the stairs. And if no one's home and you hear people go up and down the stairs, that's not just hearing things, that's some serious shit. Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean it's hard to just say like, oh, was that one or two footsteps? Like that you can write off. That's house settling, maybe, probably. I don't know. When you're talking about like a flight of what is it, like 12 to 16 steps, depending on like how tall, if there's landings, whatever. You're talking about a lot of steps, and you can hear
This is
that
a big
whole
old house.
flight.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
How are
not
you
just a
not
couple of
like that?
steps.
That's not
Yeah.
how it's settling. And you can hear a progression of sound
Yeah,
too.
he
Like you
walked
can hear
down
it go
or
from the
walked
top to the bottom.
yeah, he walked down or walked up the whole set of steps. It wasn't like he just hit the first three and stopped. It was a somebody
No,
descending or
no.
ascending the stairs, you know? Now it would be crazy if it was two or three
Hmm.
steps, and then you'd expect dude to just be standing there because he went up three steps, so he should
Yeah,
be right about there. I had a dog that didn't know if you
yeah.
were going to stay or go, so he would go halfway up the stairs if he thought you were going to go up the stairs, and he just kind of hung out. I have pictures of Chubbs on the stairs waiting for us to figure out if we're going to go up or not because he didn't want to go all the way up if we were going to go to bed. He's like, we
Oh my
maybe,
gosh.
I would, maybe, no. Yeah, he was the best. Um, Chubbs was awesome. But yeah, he would just go up and just sit in the middle, like, you gonna go? I want to put my full effort into going up these stairs. Um, Definitely a sound and definitely unmistakable. So, and if I heard that in an empty house with nobody's book bag or purse where it was supposed to be, I would go outside that house. I would not be in there. And I would not be in there the next day either.
Right?
I'd be waiting on that stoop. I'd be a stoop child. I would just be like, yep, I'm gonna get some
No,
books. I'll be outside until you guys get home. I'm not doing this.
occurrences for me to realize, no, I'm not hearing things, first of all.
Right.
And then after that, it's just
You're
like,
definitely
nope,
not
nope,
hearing things.
nope,
Yeah, no, you're
nope.
definitely not hearing things.
Yeah, yeah,
I think your
yeah.
parents were also experiencing things and they just were not gonna they were just not gonna focus on it because they couldn't explain it. So
Maybe they were in denial. Maybe they
they're
just, like,
just
what are they
gonna
going to be
that's
do? What are they going to do? Tell a kid like, oh yeah, it's totally haunted. Like,
yes, that is just the phantom spirit
go to
that
bed.
haunts
Good
these
night.
halls. Also, go to sleep by yourself and turn that light off. You're not going to do any of those
Yeah.
things. No, don't worry, child. That's just the specter that haunts these halls. Etern Doomed to eternal damnation. That's what happens when you
Oh
kill
God.
yourself. Anyway, pass the toast.
God.
Okay, now I
Yeah. Okay.
understand.
So I went home after my
Mhm.
friend told me about that guy. I went home and I was telling my mom I was angry, but I was telling her about what she told me, and she's just like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You knew about this?"
That's
Like,
true.
well,
Yeah, oh my
yeah.
God.
I'm like, why? Why am I finding out from her? And like in hindsight, yeah, I get why she wasn't just gonna straight up gather around, kiddies. Mommy's got a story for you. You
Right.
know,
Also, we have to keep living here. We can't afford to move right now.
right?
They're still there. This house is really close to work. Deal with it. Good night.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I get that part, but I was still pissed. I was so pissed. All those
Yeah.
times, just like, no, it's not haunted. It's in your head. You're
Oh my
imagining things.
God. That is what is called gaslighting. I didn't know that had a name until a couple of years ago. Like I found the
Oh yeah,
term
it's so great. There's a
gaslighting.
name for it now.
Yeah, there's a name for it, but right, like I was like, I've been gaslighted by several people in certain situations my whole life. That I will not stand for it anymore. And just because somebody's saying something doesn't mean it's true or that there's any reality to it at all. And if a stranger is saying something to you that doesn't owe you anything or you don't know that person, you might not want to believe anything they say, and that's completely viable. Keep yourself safe. And if you smell something weird or you get instincts, trust those instincts, ladies and gentlemen. You don't let people gaslight you. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean, if you don't feel something is true, but I understand my friend who has kids. It's like sometimes you just got a lot of your kids. It's not cool, but I understand it now.
Oh God, yeah, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
Because later on, I had to move back into that house with my kids.
No.
And we'll get to that. I did,
No
yeah.
one
Uh-huh.
goes into the attic ever. Wait, are we not allowed in the attic? Well, no. Well, is it locked?
Why, Mom?
No.
Why aren't we allowed in the
But
attic?
why aren't we allowed in the attic? You don't want to go up there. It's hot. Just don't go up there without me. Go play outside and don't look up at the attic while you're in the yard. Um,
Don't look at the window.
um,
Don't look at the
yeah, don't look at the windows. Those are really big moths. Um, it's just the way the sunlight hits the panes. Um,
Oh
it
God,
doesn't, it's
my
not
mom
really a
used to, when she
person.
would
It's just,
decorate the house,
yeah,
oh, when she would decorate the house for Halloween, she would put like a fake face witch up in the attic too. But like it had like a mask. It was like had the hair and everything, like very just
your
much
mom's Halloween game
filmed
is,
about.
your mom's Halloween game is real.
Oh, that's that's a new level. Think it
That
back
is,
now, yeah.
that is some serious
She's
Halloweening.
rolling with it. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that witch didn't move around or other things. You know what I mean? Like you go upstairs and its hat's off or it's just gone.
You know, I would always be
And it
afraid to
shouldn't be
walk
gone. It
up there
should
and see
be
like,
on the
oh, what's it
floor.
doing today?
Your mom set that stuff up. She's just like, oh, it's Halloween. It's on now. Um, that's pretty cool. All right. What else? What then? And then what, Farah? Oh my God.
So like throughout there's, you know, from there on, there's been like other little things kind of happening that it would do. You know, in high school when I started listening to the stereo, my dad had it. He did this awesome thing where he just rigged it up through the downstairs speakers all over. So you go in and you know turn on, pop in a CD, whatever, turn it on in the house,
It's
and you
great.
know you could
Yeah.
go into the kitchen, go anywhere.
That's
So I would do
awesome.
that, and it would screw. It would turn off. It would stop the
Oh,
music. It would just, and it would and do it a couple of times, and you're starting thinking like, okay, this is like electronic things. But then it started doing it very weirdly and very almost deliberately, like it's fucking with me now.
yeah.
Like I
It's
would turn it
spinning the
on, I get into
tuner.
the other room, you know, it would like shut off, and I'm like, walk back in there, turn it back on, and I get over like a couple steps away, like almost to the other room, and it turn it off. Like fucking really? And you turn back around and you go over there, turn it back on, you turn around and it was instantly like, stop it. And turn back around, turn it on, and then it would stay.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
But that would happen a couple times when I had friends over, and yeah, they wouldn't believe me until like they saw that happen.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
heard the
know.
radio skipping when you have to touch the tuner for it to do that.
It's just kind of, you
What
know, takes
was
on a
it
mind of its
digital?
own.
Was it digital or was it a dial or was it an interface or was it like a bar interface, the tuner for the radio that you had piped throughout the house? Was that like a how would you have to change it? Would you have to turn a tuner or would you have to press a button? You don't remember.
Um,
The stereo
Buttons.
also might have changed through the years.
Yeah, trying to remember that. I mostly remember like I can see in my head like the actual like volume dial because
So it was a Turner.
that would
Yeah.
adjust and it had that red see it. Yeah.
Oh, did it have
So old stuff
the
like that.
arrow thing? Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
So stuff like that
yikes.
happen. I You still hear footsteps and doors. There is this, so our front door is this huge, big, heavy door. All right. And it's got like we got like an airlock thing going on. So you got like two big glass front doors, and then there's like that tiny little space, and then there's this big heavy wooden door with like massive like glass panel in it that was just like you had to like shove your weight into it to open it and close it
Yeah.
because you know the house would settle enough that it just kind of sticks in the frame a bit. But it has a very distinct sound. Like there is no faking that sound,
Right.
and because it like creaks and moves like the whole door as you're opening and shutting it. That I mean, you'd hear that like push into place. if that makes sense. So it's not like it would do a full swing, but it would be like almost like it was ajar and it was shut fully.
Wow.
You get what I
Yeah. It had
And so
that
you'd
stuff
hear
of
it
it.
hit like the top of the door frame, just
It
that
had
final
that.
push.
It had yeah. That da 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 da. Yeah. It had that weather seal that when and you open it and it had those rubber things and then you shut it and it would go right. Like it had that weather seal in it that it had that thing, or was it just a door
It wouldn't
frame and
even, no, it
it
didn't
would
have a,
stick and then you'd have to pull it?
it was just wooden door frame, wooden door. It would just stick because of
Okay.
the settling and like the swelling from humidity and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
just over the years,
But there was definitely a sound, and it also took a lot of
that
force to
thing,
get that door open and shut.
yes,
Yeah, for
yes,
sure.
yeah.
So, okay,
And
so
you
then you
hear
would
that
hear that
periodically.
when
Yeah.
you come and
Not
look,
all the time,
would the door be open or shut or anything?
shut. It would be shut. But I
So
mean,
he
we
would
always
it would
assumed it was
it would
shut initially because we don't
yes.
leave it open.
So it wouldn't be open, but he would reshut it. The something would reshut it basically.
Or like push into it.
Okay.
So yes, so either it started to open a little bit
Yeah.
and then it was shut, or something else. Like I mean, we still haven't figured that out because there's like we leave that door generally shut unless we're actively
And
using
the
it.
AC is not strong enough to do it at that point, at that big old heavy door, right?
Oh, we
It's
don't
not
have AC.
like,
That's too old in the house.
oh, there's no AC? Not in that
There's
part of
no
the
AC.
house. There's no AC at all?
Not any part. Oh, okay, we put in window units like much later on, but no, that's like the
Okay.
big front hall opens up to the whole house. Like no,
Yeah, yeah.
there'd be no.
Yeah, we had window units in the house we had in Savannah, and yeah, no, you definitely there's a difference in the rest of the house that doesn't have the AC and the rooms that do. But it didn't cause any drafts enough to suck doors in and out. But I've heard of that. I've heard the ACs being strong enough to do that with these lighter doors in modern houses, but not this one and not that house. There was no central
Yeah,
AC there. Okay, good
yeah,
to know. Yeah, no, but
yeah. And
that's
there's
crazy.
other doors like upstairs. The bedroom doors were like a little bit looser in their frames, and they'd
Yeah,
move more easily. And like you could tell when a draft was going through because you'd hear them kind of rattle a little bit. Like
yeah,
you could tell the difference between those doors rattling because of a draft, and it makes sense because they're lighter and they can move.
right.
So if there was a draft, that could do that. But then here's this one that always is stuck in its like you have
So
to move out
so
to open
that would
it.
happen. Yeah, that would happen while you had guests over and just to you guys when you were in that area
No,
all the
I
time.
don't think it ever happened when guests were over.
Oh, okay.
I remember there was one night I just kept hearing it, and I got up and I went to my parents' room. I'm like, why is the front door closing?
Yeah,
And they tried saying it was a draft. And I'm like,
I don't think so.
that's a hell of a draft.
It is
That's
a hell of a draft. Yeah, that's not how drafts work. I mean, maybe,
no.
but nothing's causing that, so it shouldn't do that. Yeah, drafts, fine. Drafts can move a door, but if there's nothing to cause the drafts to move the door, like no central heating and air, then like
There would have to be a hell of a pressure change, like doors
yeah,
opening, doors
yeah, yeah,
closing,
yeah.
something
And
moving and shifting.
that pressure change would be a consistency on whatever you were doing to cause it. It wouldn't just occur randomly and then not occur again. It would be something that always happened, especially when the ACs were on in the other rooms or whatever. It wouldn't just happen on one occasion collectively and then happen a bunch all at once on the same night. That's not how drafts work. They have a consistency to them that is caused by the rest of the conditions of the house and what's going on and what doors are open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, it wasn't a draft. I don't, your parents, no, it was not.
I don't think it was a
No, it was
no.
not.
I heard much lighter doors in the house moving with that draft. It wouldn't have been the heaviest door in the house is the only door moving with that
Right.
draft.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh my gosh, Farah.
Yeah.
These spirits in this house are so strong to move that door and all these things that they do to walk up 16 steps and have sound come out of every step. That's a lot of energy, according to my very limited understanding of how ghosts work, but my theories, like those are some strong spirits for sure. They have a lot
Now,
of
keep in mind, this is over
strength.
the span of so many years. This is
Right,
not something that would happen constantly. So there
right.
would be a long gap of time with nothing.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Maybe they can pull more
yeah,
energy from different combinations of people in different places.
that's a possibility, different scenarios, different people,
Right,
different things happening, different stages of my parents trying to rehab that house also maybe,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
because the
There's
whole
always
time that we've had it, they've been trying to restore it, to what it was. Like they've been doing all kinds of research into like, okay, the original layout, blueprints and stuff of the house. Okay, this was an addition, this wasn't, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
perhaps that all adds into it too.
right. Well, what else? So what after the door? What else happened after the door situation?
So so by the time like, high school passes and then I started some like community college there, um, some of these noises are just like second nature when they occur. You're like, oh, okay, that's really creepy, but you start to get a little bit less creeped out by it. Um, so like I remember getting ready for college classes. I'm alone in the house. I've never been a morning person. All right. I probably never will be a morning person. My college classes didn't start before 9. So everybody else is up and out of the house. And it's just me getting ready. Um, and I can hear footsteps and doors. And I'm thinking, oh, somebody's home. And so, like, I pop out and I'm like looking around, I'm calling people and nobody's there. They've been gone. Nobody came home. I'd hear that a couple of times. And, I'd go back, keep doing what I'm doing because again, it was like at that point I'm looking at it like, well, it's just footsteps and door closing, whatever, you know, just,
Yeah.
just leave it be. Um,
Well, yeah.
I joined
There's
the
no one
army.
here, but something's still making noises.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get a little used to it after a while, right? Um, just like the duck became less scary, right? It's still there at this point. It's still quacking, still interacting with you, but
That duck is still
less scary.
quacking.
That duck is still quacking.
Those
So at
doors are
one point,
shut
like
and
I
that
joined
duck
the
is still
army.
quacking. But I gotta go to school, so I'm just gonna keep getting ready.
Yeah. So I joined the army. I leave the house. I'm, overseas, gone for a few years, whatnot. No longer living there. Um, so of course, like I don't really hear about stuff happening and whatnot. I come home on leave once and I'm in my room, and my room had already been like transformed to like a guest room at this point.
Yeah.
And so somewhere along the lines, I moved my bed up against the wall so I could at least have a wall behind me when I slept and I could face out into the room and I'd feel a bit more comfortable that way.
Yeah.
Well, after I moved out and they transformed my room into a guest room, like it's this full-size bed that's again jutted out into the room. So only your head's against the wall and you're just kind of like sticking out into space. So I came home. I'm trying to fall asleep one night. The door is kind of ajar so we could let some air flow because we wanted, like it's an old house, right? So the
Right.
heating, the airflow, it doesn't move the best. If you want more comfortable temperatures, you just kind of leave the doors propped open with something so
Yeah.
they don't move.
Right.
That. And I'm laying in bed and I'm trying to fall asleep and my eyes are closed and I hear a couple of footsteps come into my room. It's hardwood floor.
Oh hell no.
And I look up and there's nothing there.
Sure.
And just like, fuck, all right.
Yeah. You didn't forget where you were,
So
did you?
I just got back.
Right.
Could you
Yeah,
not?
maybe. Yeah,
No.
maybe these are just childhood
Uh,
memories, or maybe it's dissipated a little bit, and then, golly.
right. And it
And then
sounded
the
like
then the
hard
duck
soul.
in the hallway, quack 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 quack.
Yeah, if the duck went off at that point, it would have been, yeah, I would have been staying at the hotel. Uh,
Quack 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 quack.
oh, but
No, it's
man,
it's not even that.
it was just like,
It's quack 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 quack. Quack
you nailed
quack
it.
quack
Like that
quack
is,
quack
that's
quack
absolutely,
quack 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 quack. Oh my God, Farah. Quack quack quack. Oh. Okay. Holy cow. So when the footsteps came into the room, what did you do? What you you just were like,
so
all
like, and
right,
I'm sitting there trying to think like, did I really just hear that? Like it sounded like
yeah,
somebody wearing hard-soled shoes just took 2 steps into the room, and there's nobody
right,
there. I can see the light from down the stairs, so somebody was still downstairs awake. Like I could, because the door was maybe 6 inches open. And I'm just like, I lay back down. I'm just like, nope, maybe let's just go with no. No, that wasn't no. So I like, go back to bed. Just go back to trying to fall asleep.
yeah,
So I did that. I laid down, shut my eyes, and then I heard the footsteps walk to the other side of the bed. So like they were at the corner of one of the foot of the bed. They walked to the other corner and stopped. And I sat up and I'm just like, I'm looking around, I'm looking down the edge. I'm just like, fuck.
yeah,
And then I laid down, eyes wide open, and I was just like, not tonight, not tonight. And I just said that out loud into the room, not tonight. And I didn't hear anything else that night. I didn't hear anything else for a while. Like the whole time I was there, I didn't have anything else happen.
hmm. I guess you told it and it listened. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it does stop when you
I,
tell it to. I guess. I don't know. That's
I heard about that happening, like, well, have you tried
yeah.
talking to it? And I think,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Have
I'll
you tried
try
talking
talking,
to it?
see what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. God.
Uh, that is
Oh,
unmistakable that walking from one, it's not like it's that big. A bed is a bed. It's not that big. It's not like a
no.
California king. It's right there at where your foot is. You're lying there.
Yeah.
I'm 5'7".
Like
It's
probably
right
four
there.
steps.
And it's unmistakable hardwood floor, clunk, clunk, clunk. Like it's click, click,
Yeah.
click, turn one side to the other. And it's definitely demanding your attention and it's unmistakable. Oh my God.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
it's so close to you. It's not just off
I
in the house
know. It
somewhere
was so,
banging on the
oh, it's the
cutting board,
creepiest
right?
thing.
It's right there.
You know whatever it is. It's at the foot of your bed
Yes,
right there.
yes,
You go
yes.
from one
That's
corner
that's
to the other
yes.
corner. It's
That's
like,
why that's so
God.
scary, Farrah. Oh gosh. Okay, well,
But I mean, after I
geez.
said not tonight, like I didn't
Not
experience
tonight.
anything in that while. And I was just like, shit, did I scare it away? Like, did it totally stop altogether? Like, it was a
Did it
while
just
before
need
anything
me
else
to
happened
acknowledge
again.
its presence? And then once I talked to it and gave it acknowledgement, that's what it wanted, so it left?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. Nothing else happened that trip when you came back though.
Nope. No, nothing else happened until I had to move back into that house with my kids.
So you would go intermittently and see your folks and nothing would happen except for the one time you came back from the army on the first time you came back from
Yeah.
being shipped out. Okay, so
Yeah.
wow, that's a couple years, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was, yeah. So
Wow.
I think that was probably 2005 was when I said not tonight. And then we moved back in 2018.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, like I
what?
said,
Yeah,
like
what?
there's like a long period of time where like nothing will happen because, well, I mean, we've lived there since
Yeah,
what, 1988, I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
I think that's what you said. Yeah,
So if like the handful of things that I've recounted so far is all we've got since 1988 so far, I mean, it's not
yeah.
a lot in the grand scheme.
Well, in all the time you've spent there, but
Yeah. Who knows what's
yeah.
happening when I'm not there?
What does your brother say about all this?
He supposedly hasn't noticed anything.
Oh,
I don't
come
know
on.
how. No, I have no idea how. Like he lives in the back of the house, the creepy area of the house. I don't know how he managed to do that.
Yeah,
And
he was
like
in
he
that
would
really
go nuts.
spooky part that you talked about. He's in the
Yeah,
part that you feel stuff for
sleeping with the
years
lights
before you
off
said
like a
anything,
champ. I
before you saw
mean,
anything. Yeah. Sleeping with the lights off like a champ. Yeah, he's unfazed, apparently.
yeah, he's a real all-star here.
Is what?
So
He's an
he's the
all-star, is that what you
all-star.
said?
Yeah, he can handle it all. I don't know.
He's too cool for ghosts.
Yeah,
He believed your parents when they told him that he was hearing things, and so he just was like,
shut it down real quick. Yeah.
uh, geez, that's craziness. Yeah, wow. So 2018, you guys moved back in. Where do you put your kids? Anybody sleeping in your
Yeah.
brother's old creepy room?
So, uh, no, that got turned into like a sewing room.
A spooky sewing room.
Oh,
A spooky ass
yeah,
haunted sewing room.
right.
Yeah.
So nobody was sleeping down there. Yeah. So when we moved back in, nobody was down in my brother's room.
Okay.
My parents had started turning what was the guest room when I lived there. Like my grandmother stayed there when she lived with us for a little bit. I mean, like people would stay in this big room. It had its own attached bathroom, so it was like kind of nice. They'd stay there. It was the room that was next to my room, and it was connected through like a tiny little side door. Um, so they had started taking that larger room with the adjoined bathroom, like they were going to turn that into a master suite. So they had a bed set up in there for them. Um, they were going to, well, no, sorry, they started sleeping in my bedroom and they were going to do something else with that other room, but they put in a bed for one of us when we moved in there, and my kids were sleeping in what used to be their old room. So when I got there, I was stuck in that big, massive guest room with, I never really liked staying in that room at night. Again, it was just one of those eerie spaces, especially once you start getting toward the back of the house, which you would go down there to get to the bathroom in the
Yeah.
room. It was toward the back of the house. It was just a really long room, really large, long, exposed room. So I made sure we kind of switched rooms around pretty quick when we got there because I just could not sleep in that room. Could not. So the configuration we ended up with was my kids ended up back in what was my room. I moved to the room that was my parents' room. And then they lived in the room that was my grandparents' room. So it was just like full circle there. The grandparents were
Yeah.
living in the grandparents' room.
Yeah.
I was living in my parents' room, and the kids were in the kid room. Um, so that's when I started noticing like some interesting things about their room that, of course, I never really talked about. My mom would always talk about how that door would move a lot with drafts and stuff, and it would. So I had to like, I rigged up this little thing that I could shut in the door that would
Yeah.
stop it from rattling
Yeah.
with the drafts and stuff. So it was great. right? So it's just like this, like a crochet, like a little bit of yarn, and it was looped around the doorknobs and it stayed there and it filled the gap. And so it wouldn't rattle,
Okay.
like it could latch, it stayed there, it wouldn't rattle. So if it rattled, like you had to physically kind of move it and shake it, which would on occasion happen. And you're like, okay, did something just kind of shake the house or jostle it? It was a little hard to tell, a little hard to tell. So I also had this thing hanging on the door. You got like the little nail or decorations on the doors, you know, this little
Yeah.
thing hanging on the door. And that would sometimes, without any prompting, like no rattle, no door shaking, no nothing, that would just kind of swing. And you'd hear it scrape along the door.
Huh. On the other side of the door or the other side you're looking at?
It's on the outside of the door. So
Yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
the inside of the door is shut.
Yep.
There's no noise, no door rattle, no nothing. Nobody's walking
Except for
by, but it just
that decoration.
it sounds like somebody just walked
Good,
by and did a little this and
good
flicked it so
Lord.
that it would swing.
No, I understand everything you're saying, Farah. Oh my God. Ah, open that door up a little bit. And then quack,
I
quack,
did.
quack,
Maybe he just
quack,
wanted the
quack,
door
quack.
open. I
I hear the
don't
Christmas
know.
duck off on the other side of the house, caroling. Christmas duck carols. No. Uh, uh, okay. That would happen while you were just in the room. Just, and
Uh-huh,
then,
uh-huh.
yeah.
And I get knocks on the door, thinking it was my kids, and it
Oh,
wasn't. I mean, like an actual knock on the door.
oh God. What kind of, tell me about the knock. What is this? Like, how did the
So
knock sound?
like you're knocking on.
Oh, hell no.
I thought this was my kid from across
Yeah,
the
right.
hall.
No,
And I'm
sure.
like, hey mom, I can't sleep. And
Oh my
so I
gosh.
call out, hey, who is it? What is it? And like I wouldn't hear
Right.
anything back.
Yeah,
And I'd get up and I'd open up the door and there'd be nobody there. Go back to bed or whatever. I'd check on my kids and they're fast asleep in their room.
right. Man, that knock is unmistakable, man. Man, would you
Yeah.
need to
And
leave
it
the
wasn't
door
just like a
open?
one,
I
two.
mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't leave the door open. I don't know. Maybe I
No,
wouldn't
no, I
leave the
wasn't
door
about to leave
open.
the door open.
Yeah,
Last time I did that,
I
there were
hear you.
footsteps in my room.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, for sure. Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. So then,
Okay.
okay, and so my kids were already at this point getting kind of like creepy feelings about the house, like especially the back of the house. Again, like they did not like the back hallway. They didn't like to go down there all by themselves. Like because they used the back bathroom, the one that was like next to my brother's room, because it's huge, had a huge clawfoot tub. It was awesome, right? So if they wanted to take a bath, like yeah, heck, get in there, go for it. I
Okay.
used to just kind of start doing that during the middle of the day then when it was daylight so that it was easier for them. It was just better all around rather than when it's dark out and creepy. So um,
Yeah.
they again, they would mess with each other. You'd hear them running down the hall because they got creeped out on something. Like, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
they're picking up on that too. You know, they started to just not like certain things. We had little light up lightsabers that were on their wall and everything like that. Those would start going haywire and stuff. So I just like took them down. Like they're getting creeped out all around. And I'm like pretty sure that was just like mixed frequency, like something interfering with them. You know, I'm not saying that was paranormal, but like it's just enough to continue on with all like the creepy feelings. Like, all right, we just need to get rid of these. We don't need that kind of.
What did you get
We
rid
don't. It
of?
doesn't need that help.
What did you get rid of?
Um, So they had lightsabers that were mounted on the wall,
Okay.
like Star Wars lightsabers,
Yeah.
and you could like control the colors and stuff. Well, they
They
would
had
either
buttons you
turn
can turn
on
them
or
on.
off by themselves,
No.
by
Mm.
themselves.
Oh my
But they were
God.
removable. I'm still kind of like, I don't know that it wasn't like getting interference from something else, but still, it's just enough to be super creepy on top of everything else that's going on. So it's just like, all right, let's just take him down and get rid of him.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need that. So there I am one night, tucking my kids in. I'm in their room. They got the bunk beds. I'm tucking them in. I say goodnight. My parents are also getting ready for bed, going to bed. So I come out of their room and I'm about to walk into my room, which is just across the hall, and I can see down the hallway and there's a light on down there. And so I can see, yeah, but like just into the shadow around the corner there, there's my dad, you know. And so he just stopped. He's waiting for me to go by because it's like obviously we're either going to be have a traffic jam or whatever. So he just stopped, waited for me to go by. So I'm walking up, going into my room, and then I get to the point where I can see into the get like the doorway to their room, and my dad's
Yeah.
laying on the bed, and there's
Okay.
still this man standing in the shadows, now like 2 feet away from me. And I just did one of those, oh, that was a good one. And I kept walking into the room and I shut my door. Um, and then I'm like, I'm sitting there in my room trying to like process what I saw. So what I thought was my dad standing in the shadow of the hallway as it turned, like as the light comes around the corner, there's like that little angle and a shadow. I thought I saw my dad there. I assumed it was him. It was a tall figure and it was blocking out some of the light from down the hallway. And then I got close enough and I could see it wasn't him, but there was still something there blocking out the light from down the hallway.
And you just said, nah, good one, and shut your door?
Yeah, just, yeah. What else was I gonna do?
Oh my
Get a high
God.
five? Like, come
Oh
on.
my God, Farah. Ah, that's a good one. That's the best one. Okay, I have to go now. No, my God, oh my God.
I just, I
Oh,
just did that shutter, said that was a good one, and walked into my room and shut the door. That was it. Told my parents about it the next morning.
uh, no. Oh, yeah, that just, that was a good one. That was your response.
Yep.
Ah, man.
Um,
And okay, so then what did they say? What did they say? What did your parents say?
at,
Oh, what did your parents say
at
to an
this
adult
point,
with
I started.
kids that said this? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I definitely was not, saying this because I waited until they were in school or something. But um, at the same time, like I brought this up, and I think we had started to kind of talk a bit more about it as adults, and still in the house, and just like
Right.
talk about the things that were happening. So I think we
Right.
started to actually be on the same page of, oh, there actually is stuff happening in this house. You know, they weren't
So
still trying to lie to me at this point.
so what did they say? They're like, yeah, that you got to just not look in the hall and you go down that way.
Yeah.
You just gotta you
They're
gotta just
just
hold
like,
your
wow, that was,
you gotta close your eyes when you take that corner.
yeah. I mean, they heard me, they believed me at that point, because I think that they
Okay.
had enough
Yeah.
stuff happen. They're just like, oh. Um, I think at some point I'd asked if they'd ever, seen stuff. My dad, I think he kind of acknowledges what we say, but I don't think he's had any real like independent experience other than the duck. Everyone hears the duck,
Everyone hears the duck.
but
Your kids hit the duck.
yeah.
I my hallways are just not that big. Like, I mean, if you think about it, just a standard hallway and you pass something and somebody's standing on the other side of it, just in the shadows of just the corner. Like, I mean, even the biggest of hallways, that is a serious, like, happening. Like
yeah,
that's
I
not
can't not
that's
even.
not something you'd see out of your peripherals. That thing is standing there. But she
Right. And
wasn't
so I'm
the
coming out
coolest, the
and I'm
craziest
going
one.
here
Yeah.
and it's just like a couple feet to the right. So it's like I'm more or less headed directly toward it, just
Then you
slightly off
turn then you turn into
side.
that room.
Yeah. Because it's like the doorway is right there at the corner of the room.
Was
And
there
the
light
corner of the
behind it?
room is what
Yeah.
slides down to the hallway. So it's
Was there
not even like a big
yeah.
gap. It's just like I'm walking right next to this shadow.
Was there light behind it? You said it was blocking the light. Was there
Yeah.
light behind it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you couldn't see
Mhm.
through it like the lady. It was like solid and just a shadow. What was
Yeah.
it? Was it wearing anything or was could you make out
No,
any
it was just like it
details
was
or
just like
just
the shadow outline. Like there were no
so
details.
it's like a shadow person? Was there a face?
Yeah.
Nothing. Just
No,
definitely
no.
something blocking the light and
Yeah.
people
And I just
sized
assumed
and
it was my
I
dad.
thought it
It's
was your
like I don't
dad.
have any
Well, why would
details. I just
yeah, yeah.
assumed it was him just by sheer size and just like my mom is
Dude,
5'2". No way she's gonna be like up tall and blocking out like, she's no. This thing was taller than me. So it's like, okay, my dad's taller than me.
yeah.
He's about the same size as this shadow. I just assumed it was him.
Well, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Golly,
To
fair.
get that on t-shirt.
Ah, no, I that's so much to process. Um, yeah, that sounds like a shadow person that you saw. Like those so shadow people are not typical, but just people talk about them a lot. And then, this sounds like there's more than one thing happening in this house. Like the guy in the attic, the lady at the door, the shadow
Yeah.
person that's bigger than your mom and probably bigger than that lady in your door frame. So like that's
Yeah.
another person
Right.
too. Like it's like what? Um,
Yeah, because I mean,
oh
of all
man.
this stuff that's happened in the house, and we try to talk
Yeah,
about it and we try to like reason out, especially if she's trying to dig up like history of the house and the owners and everything like that. Um, we speculate as to like, well, what could this be, or who is this, or what was happening? I don't know. We kind of talk about it and stuff. I mean, I'd only ever seen just those two, I guess, apparitions you could call them. Like, yeah, the one was very clearly an apparition, and then the shadow man. I mean, other
right,
than that,
shadow
it's
person,
mostly
yeah.
just sounds and face, right? Other than the
Yeah,
face in the
but
attic, but I mean,
sounds
it's not,
but but it was sounds that are strong enough to move that front door and also
yeah,
to go all the way up and down a full flight of stairs and to make those cutting board sounds in the kitchen. Like those are all like these spirits seem to be powerful and have some strength
or
behind
at least
them.
they gather it enough. Like, there's enough time that
Yeah.
passes. They must like
Yeah.
have something that happens, and then bam, they can just be, and then it's a long
Manifest. Yeah.
time before they can do something again. I don't
Yeah,
know.
where are they going in the interim? Like why are they not there for so long and where are they going? And why does it come and go? Is it seasonal? Is it reoccurring and some kind of anniversary of something? Like what is that?
And then like, why
Is
is
there
it
no
happening the way that
summertime
it's happening?
activity? Right?
Well, what
Yeah.
is it trying to do? Like,
Yeah, what does
yeah,
it want? Yeah, for
why
same,
why
for
was the
sure.
lady in my in just
Yeah,
standing there? What was
what
she
did
doing?
that
Like, what
thing want? Yeah, for sure.
was she a nanny? Like, what? I mean, was she like the woman in the house? Like, who was
Yeah, because
she?
you were like a
Is
little
it
kid at the
confused
time.
because I
Yeah.
was a kid and she was just
Yeah.
whatever? I don't know.
I think she's the nun from
Um,
that room.
yeah, and then like a lot of the footsteps
She
sound,
she wants to know
heavier.
why
Like,
your
could be
room
a
is bigger
man,
than
so we figure
hers.
like, oh, maybe that's that man, or we just kind of lump the masculine sounding sounds
Right.
as to like maybe it's that guy. You know,
Yeah, well, you said it was heavy boots, so you know that sound.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I have no idea. That's it's wild.
yeah.
The thing in the hallway. What else?
Hmm. So then,
Shadow person.
um, yeah, the shadow person. So then, that wasn't totally the end of everything. We're still there for, I don't even remember when that happened. But, eventually we had to move out and whatnot. And talking about this, my oldest daughter a couple of times had to stay in the nun's room. And she told
Okay.
me after we moved out, she had started to kind of like feel weird in the nun's room. I mean, she liked it because it was small and it was cozy.
I was hoping
And
for
like
a
when she
small
needed a
and
break.
more, yeah, I was hoping for maybe a small and safer place. Apparently not.
But yeah, she was telling me like now she tells me like, yeah, when she slept there a couple of times, she just would feel like something was there, somebody was there, or just, yeah.
But she didn't
She's
see
still fine.
anything.
So like, she still prefers, no, no, and she still prefers to sleep in that room versus share a room with her sisters. So, I mean, when you weigh your options there, share a room with your sibling
I will
or
sleep
sleep
in
in the
the
nun's
same
room when something else
I will sleep in the same bed with my sister, then sleep in
killing
that
yourself
haunted
laughing.
ass room. Yes. Rebecca, you and me, bunking up. Get ready. She goes to bed at like 8. She goes to bed at like 8 and you can't make any noise when you're next to her. She'll kill you. Uh she does not listen to the podcast. Love you, Rebecca. Um
So we moved out
yeah,
later.
yeah.
At one point, I had to go make another trip back up there and get like the last of our stuff and then move it down to Maryland. And I went up there, we packed up everything, and I just wanted to say goodbye to the duck because, we're moving on. The duck is still there, right? It's been 30 some years. The duck's still there. The
And it's
duck
been
stopped
Christmas
quacking.
for 30 years.
30, yeah, Christmas for 30 years until that
Yeah.
that weekend when I packed everything up and the duck stopped quacking. Its speaker broke, like you could hear it click on and it stopped. That was it. There was no sound, either the click or it
Well,
was trying to quack, nothing.
it definitely lived for 29 years more than any toy maker expected it to. You know, uh we'll have to just get another one. eBay, you could probably get that duck. I'm just saying.
It's funny you mentioned that because since it broke, here's like yeah, that kind of hit me. Oh man, no more quacking, no more random quacking.
Yeah.
My mom has just like been just that's been a constant. That was the speaker of the house for a while. Like, oh, okay, the house speaks through the duck, I guess. So
Well,
she's been like looking for eBay. She found one recently.
okay, I'm about to say because it'll
Yeah.
show up. It'll show up.
I
Yeah,
mean,
no, oh my
just this
gosh.
week, she sent me a text with a link to this duck on eBay, and I just responded with, "But did you get it?" And she said, "Yes." So
Oh, the
now
duck is
what
back.
we're going to be doing, and it showed up, but now we're probably going to just take the speaker out of that one and put it in the old one, like doing surgery. But
That's great because that's Farah's duck, and we want the original duck. I have my brother's stuffed animal from when he was a little kid, and he is a big stuffed frog, and I restored it. It had lost an eye somewhere, and couldn't find the frog anywhere. So I had to replace it. So I just put an eye patch on the frog, and I have it. It's in
that's
my
amazing.
arcade. It's in my
That's
arcade.
great.
Yeah, it's in there. And I gave it to him. He had it for a while, but his kids have so much stuff, and he eventually just gave it back to me, and I have it. And so um yes,
That's great.
It's Walter's frog. It's Farrah's duck. That's important. Yes.
That's great.
Wow, the duck is back. The quack is back. Quack is back, baby. I love that. That's really special. Oh,
Yeah. So, but there were a couple years there. I think it was 2 years after I moved out before we found this replacement duck. Well, how long has it been actually? two and a half, yeah, but two and a half years, there's been no voice for the house, right? So last fall, my aunt came to visit, and now she
Yeah.
lives in Phoenix normally.
Yeah.
And so she drives across country because she doesn't leave her cat or her dog, but she takes them. So she just drives. And so when she comes to visit, she comes for like a month and a half, right? And so this time she
Okay.
stayed with my parents,
Somebody's
and she stayed
retired.
in yeah, she stayed in the room that I used to sleep in, my parents' old room, um, the one with the door and the swingy thing. Yeah, so she stayed in there, and um, I guess she was telling my mom that she was having like eerie things, like her dog hated the hallway, like they just didn't want to go down the hallway. Um, she told my mom one morning that she woke up that night to her hair dryer being on, folded up on the dresser. It happened to be
Yeah, that
plugged in.
yeah.
She woke up in the middle of the night and the hair dryer was on. It was still
Yeah.
folded in half because it was one of those little,
You
yeah.
gotta you gotta
It
move
just
that
it
dial. You
started.
gotta move it. You gotta physically move that dial for it to
That's
turn
not an
on.
easy thing to turn off.
Also dangerous as hell. Yikes. Dude, yikes. Yikes. What? Ah,
Never had anything like that happen to me, but maybe it was because the duck was there and the duck could quack. I don't know.
the duck kept it
Is it
at peace. It gave it its due. Now it's
it let
turning
us know
shit
that it was
on.
there. It was still
Now
there.
it's
And now,
turning shit on at
it
night.
goes 2 years without having an outlet, and now it's gonna be like, no, I'm still here.
He's just sitting there holding that hair dryer like, I'm back, baby. Grr. Hear me. Hear me, humans in the real world. I still exist. I want to dry my hair. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No, no. That is some serious. You have to hit that button just like the radio, just like the Turner dial. You have to move it for it to do it. And for him to slide that thing on the door and for him to walk up 16 stairs and for them to shut that heavy door over and over again. Mm. I wonder why they never leave the door open. Like they always just reshut it. That's weird. Ah, yikes. Okay, so she turned the hair dryer. What anything
Yeah.
else besides anything else with the animals or with your relatives stay in that
No,
room?
the animals
Nothing.
were creeped out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she usually just kept them in that room. The dog, she'd obviously bring the dog out. The cat stayed in the room. The dog hated going down to the back of the house, but that was it.
Mm,
I said that was she woke up in the middle of the night to her hair dryer being on. I mean, that's not,
yeah,
not
yeah, that's a
exactly a
lot.
small thing.
That's not a small thing. That's a lot. Woo. Wow. So so talking with your parents, they still live in this house. What
Mhm.
else? What is your mom? Has your mom seen anything? Like what did your mom and dad did they I know dad's kind of like he doesn't talk about things you said and he just said he just kind of accepts everybody else's stories, but he doesn't have any comments of his own. And your brother doesn't have any comments, which is wild. But you said your mom does, what
Yeah. So
else?
my mom, I reached out to her for any, notes on stuff that's happened to her and some of the history of the house that she was able to look up. So she sent me this file that she put together,
Oh,
um, with some yeah, with some stories about what she's known and what she's
the history of the
experienced in the
house?
house.
The history of the house?
Yeah. hmm
Sweet,
hmm
sweet. All right, well, what did she find out?
So the house was built in 1894 or 1895. It's a little bit fuzzy there. Like they don't know exactly which one, but and it was
Yeah.
built by a well-known lawyer in the city. And so he and his wife lived there and they had one daughter. And it's quite large compared to some of the other houses that are on the street. And they even added on to it, I think, around the time that he was married. So, I mean, it's got maids' rooms up in the attic, um, like extra rooms down in the basement too. Like there's definitely like servants' quarters. There was a like one of those little foot buzzers in the dining room and the floor that you would call like the butler or the servants.
Yeah, sure.
We still have the whole floor where that was. With stuff like that, you know. And then after the lawyer and his family moved out, it was a boarding house for a number of years, and all the bedrooms upstairs had like deadbolts on them.
Oh shit.
And yeah, well, some of them are still there, and they just look really weird. They're disengaged, like you can't use them,
Okay.
but like you still have some of the hardware there. See where
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
were, like on the nun's room is like the big square looking thing that like another like it looks like a hinge when it's all closed, like a little clasp moves into it and then it would like a pin would go in.
Okay.
It's really weird, really big old deadbolt. Like we still have like half of it up there. Like you can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
You can see where they were. Yeah. It's like really loud, scary, just buzzer of a doorbell that if you're not expecting it, it's really loud. It's just a bzzz. It'll
Yeah,
throw you off. But yeah, so that's still
my grands had a buzzer like that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. What about the foot bells? You
yeah.
said they have the servants' bells and they still ring if you press the button?
No, no, no. They used to. They took that out,
Okay.
but there's still like a hole in the floor that you could see where it was.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, after it was a boarding house. So like there's like what, how many transient people kind of coming through a boarding house situation, right?
And that
Who knows?
time, if you're anywhere
And
near the railroad, yeah, if you're anywhere near a
yeah.
railroad system, then hundreds of people, possibly, hundreds of people, 1,900 maybe. I mean, how long was it a boarding house? 20 years?
Oh no, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
think she
yeah,
knows.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many, like hundreds of people, like absolutely. Especially if it's near a
I
railroad
mean, yeah, tell it,
or
yeah.
near the city. Yeah, people are coming through. They're
Yeah.
going to stay there.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, after that, it was like a three-bedroom family house, you know, and then um, it was a single family again for a little while, then became a double family. That's was a double family when we bought it, and then my parents
Yeah.
turned it back into a family. So it's gone through so many transitions, so many different modifications have happened over its lifespan. Like this house has gone through so much of a transition, so many different transitions, so many different modifications have happened to this house, and my parents are just trying to figure it out as to like what it was originally and try to restore it to that. And it's hard to kind of weed through all the different modifications that have happened to try to figure out what it was originally.
Holy
Yeah.
moly. Boarding house. That's a lot.
Yeah, so it's like there's no telling like if somebody in the boarding house days had like come through and stayed,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. That's a weird place to go back
I
and
mean, we're
haunt.
making to like, yeah, right.
Unless I died there, right? And then that's all I could haunt, right? Like if I was just stuck there. But like, if I was going to come back and haunt something, I wouldn't come back and haunt a hotel I stayed in, even a nice fancy bed and breakfast or whatever, like a boarding house.
Yeah,
Oh, I mean, maybe people live there too. Like maybe people live there. If it was a boarding house, you could just pay the weekly thing and then just stay, right?
maybe.
But I mean, that's
Yeah,
still weird to haunt that. Unless you died there,
yeah,
or unless that's what I don't unless there are rules to what you can haunt and what you can't. You probably have no say in it at all, actually. I don't understand any of it. I just have theories, but like, yeah,
yeah,
that's craziness. So that checks out though. It's not just single families you're looking at that might be the ghost in this house. It's 20 or 30 years of all the different travelers coming through. So it could be anybody.
yeah. It could. And I mean, we made speculation as to like who the woman was that I saw. I mean, because she's wearing stuff that kind of matches turn of the century type stuff, so you could make assumptions that it's something to do with the first owners, whether or not she was actually an owner or like a servant. I don't know,
Right.
but it
You
seems
had a
to fit it
whole
like that.
had a
timeline, you
whole
know?
had a whole upstairs downstairs thing with a whole staff of people, right? Like, so they
Yeah,
they also live there. That's a whole another whole group of people that live there. Wow.
exactly.
Yeah. What a cool house. That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's still in your family. I'm glad they're still there.
yeah. So when they bought it, though, they didn't know the recent history. They didn't know about the guy that killed himself in the house. They didn't find
Yeah.
that out until later.
That's a lot of house for one
So
dude, too.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so my mom actually knew the family that
Oh,
the children of the man that killed himself. So she went to school with them. And so she was telling me about how in high school at one point there were three of them sitting in the dean's office waiting to be counseled, and none of them knew why they were there. And it turns out that it was all like a condolence call by the dean because they had each lost a parent in like the last 2 weeks. And so, and like they never mentioned it to each other again. They never talked about it again. But it was just once they realized why they were there, it made sense. And so she remembered that after hearing about what had happened.
yeah,
So when she found out what had happened in the house, it was 6 months after moving in. And she was telling me that it's, 6 months into moving in, sitting
yeah,
around the dining room with some friends that she knew from high school, and they were all chatting and they were happy to see the house. And so she had done, they're talking about it. And then one of her friends had mentioned how their schoolmate's dad committed suicide in the attic. And then
right.
she remembered that bit in the dean's office and realized that made sense. Like she never really was close with the woman, but like understood at that point, what had happened. She never bothered trying to approach them about it or anything, but
So it was the
at
girl's
one
dad.
point,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think there were like three kids in the family.
Okay.
And it was that the one girl was in the same, I think, grade as she was.
Okay.
Yeah. But later on, and I remember this too, one of the children, not the same girl, but one of the other daughters, because there was a boy and two girls.
Okay.
So the other daughter came by the house one day and asked, like she introduced herself and asked if she could look around. And my mom and I gave her a tour, like showing her around the house and showing her what we were trying to do to like kind of restore it. And she was able to kind of go through the house with us and say, yeah, there used to be a door here in this hallway. There was like a doorway here. This bathroom used to have a really small, awesome clawfoot tub, which is gone now. It's a shame. But
Yeah.
I mean, she was telling us all about the house when she lived there. And so it gave us some really cool insight, but um, it was also really like emotional for her. Like you could tell she was trying to not be overwhelmed, but there were times where she just like paused and couldn't say anything.
So she came and knocked on the door and said, "I want to see the house."
Yeah,
And your mom said, "Okay, cool."
yeah.
So of course, she didn't say anything about your dad haunts this place. I'm sure. Um,
Yeah. No, no, we definitely
yeah.
didn't want to mention that.
No, no, no. But did the girl say anything? Did she say she'd experienced
She
anything, or
didn't,
it was just all about just that's where she used to live and she was just sad? Oh gosh.
no, it was all about that's where she used to live. Like we definitely didn't want to mention anything about,
Sure. No.
experiencing anything
No,
about
no, no, no,
she didn't offer anything up, so we weren't gonna push that.
no. She's walking through the house and then off in the distance, quack, 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 quack. And your mom quickly,
Oh,
that
no.
it just does that. It's one of my daughter's kids' toys. It just does that. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
Mhm.
God.
If only the duck
Um,
had quacked.
Yeah. The Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Um, they should hook the duck up to that sound system your dad put in. Just so you don't
That's
miss
great.
any, just so you don't miss any calls.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh man.
that's sad about that girl and her dad and respect. That's really
Yeah.
sad. I'm glad that your mom was around and able to do that for her. I would love to see the house I grew up in. My sister and my dad went over there and knocked on the door and they let him in. I just haven't done it. I should. That would be cool. I would love to see
Yeah.
that. Um, I'm glad your mom was there and receptive and she got to come in. Crazy though, especially after your mom reading that, knowing her mom or her aunt at the time or whatever, like going to school with her and you know, your mom had met somebody while this happened, or that was a kid in your mom's
Hmm.
class, her dad, yeah. Wait, so was the same girl? It was the same girl that your mom had
No, it was her
met
sister.
and it was her sister. Okay.
Yeah.
That's still pretty. I might have told her
Yeah.
that. I might have been like, I went to school with your sister.
Oh, I think she might have mentioned that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I just kept it very, very casual.
Yeah, sure. No, that's very
Yeah.
sad. Um, all right. So your mom, that's the history. What did your mom say anything else in her email?
Yeah. Yeah. So when she found out like the recent tragic history of the house, um, that was, you know, within, I guess, like 6 months of moving in, and she was saying that's when some of the activity started to kind of happen for her and when she started noticing stuff. And she only told dad because she wasn't about to tell my brother and I were like, what, 4 and 8, 5 and 8 at that point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So her first like solid experience that she says that she can't write off as anything else, really. Just that was about like a year in, and it was an open house, and she was taking a friend like a tour into the around the house, and they went into the attic. The last tour, they went into the attic, and she was jokingly telling a friend what had happened there, and pulling the light cord as she did it, like to turn it on. Um, the friend was a little upset and nervous, but and as soon as my mom pulled the light cord to turn it on, it sputtered and went off. And then she
Okay.
turned it on, and sputtered, but stayed on. And then they just decided to go downstairs.
It's not really how light bulbs work either, right? Like they don't
Oh, yeah.
really sputter and come back on like LEDs too. Like they're different than the light bulbs we had when we were kids. I don't know if that is an LED bulb
Yeah,
or
these are
not,
like
but
the old
like
pull socket, right?
pull
So you
cord
screw it
stuff,
into the
right?
socket, there's a
Yeah,
little pull chain. So it's like either that pull chain is set in the on switch it on position or it's in the off position.
right.
So there's no,
There should be no
yeah,
sputtering for sure.
no,
But nothing else happened on that tour and on that walkthrough. When those
no,
people came
no.
to
She
visit,
said most
just the
of,
sputtering.
yeah,
The duck didn't
yeah.
sing out.
The duck wasn't there then. This was pre-duck.
This was pre-duck. Oh,
That was pre-duck.
that was
Yeah.
something that happened to your mom when she was walking people around and talking about stuff.
Yeah, only about like a year into us living there.
Oh, okay. Well, then it wasn't an
Yeah.
LED bulb at that point, but yeah, that's so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. I don't know anything. I don't know much. I don't know anything about electricity or I don't know anything about electrics, but sputtering is weird. I don't know. It's yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, typically it'd be like, oh, it might just not be screwed in all the way, but then how would it go out again and allow you to turn it on and it would stay on? It's not,
Right? If it's gonna go out, it's gonna
it
go out.
didn't
It's
line
never
up.
not gonna turn back on again. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But your mom said it was weird. Probably it was.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's freaking up there. I mean, like being up in the attic is just, Like, I mean, I don't like being up there alone, first of all. I'll go up there alone because, well, I'm an adult now. Okay, sure. I can do it. I
There's
mean,
there's
but
attic
I
stuff up there.
definitely like, yeah, I feel like it's just I mean, there are times where it just feels like there's something up there with you, or like there was a time like I think when we moved in, like you just go up there, it just felt like it walked with me outside, like downstairs, like out of the attic. Like I don't know, it's weird. Like there's just like did energy just follow me out of the attic? What was that? Like it just was weird,
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like you don't really like, yeah, it's just kind of an eerie place to be in general, anyway. But I mean,
Sounds like it.
she's saying like most of her experiences early on were just like the noises and you could write a lot of them off as house settling because it's so big, but it's hard to explain. Again, the front door. She's saying that she heard that front door a lot, which then like that lines up with my hearing of the front door and them telling me no, it was just a draft. Like really, you're just gonna tell me it's a draft, and this is
Yeah.
something that frequently? Nah, nah, Farrah, go back to bed. It's just a draft.
It is not.
No.
Um, did she mention anything else?
Um, there were some shadow instances that she'd see and some noises, and she wouldn't really talk about this to anybody else for the longest time. But she would just kind of like there'd be a shadow moving, or instances where she'd see a person moving down the hallway, and she I remember asking her about this a little bit in more detail, like, well, what do you mean you'd see a person like moving down the hallway? And she'd say it was mostly like in her dresser mirror because it was facing the door going out of the room and the hallway that would lead to downstairs. So it was
Yeah.
like somebody was walking past her doorway going downstairs. And so she'd see this one. So she described her as a woman, like a hair piled on top of her head. I'm like, you kidding me right now?
That's
You're
the
telling
lady
me
from the
something
doorway.
it pretty much fits the description of what
Yes,
I have
it
been talking
does.
about since I was 8.
Yes, it absolutely fits the description. Good grief. What did she say to that?
She said, yeah, but what was I going to tell an 8-year-old? And
I
yeah,
understand.
yeah, yeah. And she said, like, she never saw, it was never like it was part of a person. It
Right.
was never like a full apparition. It was just like part of, and she's like, yeah, I would go to the windows. I'd be looking for headlights. I'd be looking for shadows. I'd be looking for all kinds of things. Like, it wouldn't always add up. It wouldn't always add up. How do you explain seeing that?
Yeah, she'd see a part of a person while they were exiting whatever space she was occupying or coming into, basically. That kind of part
Yeah.
of people, like you come in a room, but you know you just saw somebody walk through that door, but they're yeah, that kind of that's like people back leg of
Mhm.
somebody or that hair bun of hers, and then she goes through the door and then she's gone. So you only see that bit, but not even that much. Like she would see parts
Mhm.
of the person as they're right? I I th- I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Like the outline of her, and you could tell, like, all right, is the outline of a head with the hair and
So
piled
she
on to the
saw
bun.
shadow person. She saw shadow person, but it had that outline, and it's her height too. If it's
Yeah,
not
and the
that
way
bigger
she
one,
it would sometimes vary. Like she could see a little bit more, or it was just like
yeah.
an outline, or yeah,
If it's not that taller one, then she's probably seeing that lady that's about
yeah,
her height too, right? If she's
yeah,
seeing the bun and everything, like
yeah.
wow,
I think she's pretty convinced that I think that's her take on it now. I don't know.
wow, wow. Is that the last of the stuff she told you, the most recent?
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. I mean, I feel like then it's just mostly sounds, as far as like
Yeah.
seeing anything, not really anything else. But periodically you'll hear the footsteps in the doors and everything.
And now that the
You know,
duck is back, you'll hear the duck quacking periodically now.
you know, yeah.
The house has
I
its
mean, over
voice
the course
back.
of time that we were there, like nobody. nobody feels threatened. Yeah, there's times that it's like it's scary or it startles you, but it doesn't feel threatening. It doesn't feel mean, you know?
Yeah. And when you see a person in the hallway or you see the shadow figures that you see, you're not like, oh, this is an intruder, this is a burglar, or this is I'm in danger. You say there's something paranormal going on, and I'm looking at it, and that's but you don't think somebody's broken your house. That's never been
Right.
your first.
Yeah.
That's never been your first thought because it
No.
feels different. It feels different. It feels different when it's happening to you.
Yeah. Oh, plus there's way more noise if somebody is like actively walking through your house, right? Especially in a house that old, it is impossible to walk through that house silently.
So that's a totally different thing. So it's not scary. It's just because if I saw somebody in my house, I would immediately be like, I have to protect myself, or I have to. What's happening? I've got to defend myself. But it's different
Yes.
when you see a ghost or a shadow person. It's not the same thing. It's not the same feeling, and you have that feeling first, regardless of how scary it is. Something's happening. It's not a person. What's going on, right? Like there's that thing. And that goes along the same, all of the house has feelings like you were talking about. All the rooms have those feelings you're talking about. So you already are familiar with those things. So,
Mhm.
wow, Farah, amazing, amazing stories. Keep us updated on your house and what new developments and feel free to email me and I will catch the listeners up on the latest of the House of the Christmas Duck. The haunted quacks of the hallways. Catch us up, and that would be really cool. But we
Oh,
we would love to hear about the future and what's happening. Just catch us up, and I would love to update the listeners with updates. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed it. What a
yeah.
great
Thank you for having me.
story. You're so welcome. Thanks for listening. Um, well, Farah, take care. All right. Have a good night. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye, Farah. Well, so yeah, I like it. It's a good episode. A lot of fun hanging out with Farah and hearing about her haunted house growing up. And what about that haunted ass Christmas duck? Uh, I wish we had some kind of toy maker, or I wish I knew, what exactly, you know, toy maker made those. I want to see it. But Farah didn't tell me. I'm going to ask her next time I talk to her. Hey, can I find this duck online somewhere? Her mom did and bought it again so they could have their little duck alarm ghost alert back. Well, that's one haunted ass Christmas duck. I love it. It's such a cool story and so many interesting things she told us about. That's the lady from the nun's room. I think it is the lady from the nun's room. That room had its own vibe to it. That was such a great time. And Farah, thank you for calling in. Guys, if you want to call in to the show and tell me your story, write me at paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com. I'm always interested, always taking new interviews and new requests for interviews. Always enjoying meeting all of you. And then I look forward to hearing your stories. So write into me, paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com. I hope you had a great time. Farah, thank you so much for coming on the show. And listeners, thanks for listening. Folks, thank you for all your support. I've got new stickers. I have new, really, really cool Ouija board stickers. If you want a brand new Paranormal Record Ouija board sticker, all you got to do is send me your mailing address to paranormalrecordpodcast@gmail.com and I will personally send you a sticker. I'll pay for the postage. If you want a sticker, I'm going to get one to you in the mail. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. Look forward to more episodes. Look forward to next week's show. I'll see you there. Y'all take care. Good night, everybody.